Welcome back to the channel. About a year ago, I got this 2005 Ford Ranger from a high school kid, and it was literally beat to hell. So there's a local place that people take trucks to four-wheel drive, and for some reason, he had in his mind that this was the truck to take. I know there's a lot of stuff on the internet saying Ford Rangers are unkillable, but this one died. So he took it out, mudding, it sucked a bunch of water into the intake, and let's just say 80 grit sandpaper would be nice for the cylinders. So I put a new engine in it, been driving it, and the suspension in the front wasn't the greatest. So it's just been getting worse and worse because it's been deteriorating because the roads are so awful around here. So it needs pretty much everything in the front. Rough Country sent me a lift, and I also got all the other parts that I need to make this thing drive perfectly, because right now I'm camber and toe wearing the front tires, and I've been flipping them every month. So now I have new tires, we should be good. A bunch of stuff is going to be getting fixed on this thing, and hopefully after that it's a nice shop truck so I can drive it around and not really have to worry about driving a diesel truck in the winter. That is the main purpose for this truck, because it's really hard on diesel trucks starting them up and driving them under 20 miles each way when it's below zero. So let's get all of the stuff on this truck, get it all buttoned up, get an alignment, and hopefully we get better gas mileage as well, because I'm getting awful gas mileage, I'm burning through tires, and this thing just needs to be fixed. So let's get to work. So at first glance, you can see that there is a ton wrong with the front suspension. Starting off the upper control arm, this is actually a replaced ball joint, but as you can see, it is just destroyed and leaking grease all over. At first, I thought the axle boot had ripped, but it is just the grease that I've been feeding into this ball joint that has been falling onto the wheel and getting slung all over the fender liner. Rough Country lift comes with some new knuckles and a bunch of other parts. I would really recommend getting new remanufactured or brand new Ford lower control arms, just because this thing was driven so hard. I don't know if these things are good. The stampings are really thin sheet metal, and it's pretty easy to deform these things. So I just recommend getting new ones. Then you don't have to worry about having any issues taking this thing to alignment shop. Also, upper control arms, I'd recommend getting some aftermarket camber eliminators, because on the Rangers, they seem like they have excessive front camber wear and you can't really get it out. So they have some that eliminate that camber issue. You also have the bolts up here that adjust, but they are just a hair longer. have the rear diff bracket installed, and on the driver and passenger side, there are two different brackets, but they are labeled in kind of a cool way. So as you see, this one has a D cutout, and this one has a P cutout. So this is passenger, this one's driver. Putting the diff in was a little more difficult than taking it out. So one thing I'm going to say is the rough country brackets work really well, but this one in the back, they want you to cut your factory frame. And I'm not going to say to do it because I didn't do any finite analysis on these suspension parts, but I didn't want to cut mine. So there's enough meat on this, as you can see, and you can clearance this bracket enough to clear. And I don't think you'll have any issues, but I'm not going to tell people to do it just because I don't have this in CAD and I haven't done any tests. But this literally just goes up a little bit more and it clears perfectly fine. So it just kind of follows that contour of this factory piece. So now what I need to do is I need to get all this stuff torqued down. Then I'm going to be putting the axles in, the drive shaft, and all of the front suspension on, minus the torsion bars, because then I need to go back and put all the new torsion bar mounts on. The rough country lift is now finished on the Ford Ranger, and I think these trucks should have came from the factory at this ride height. I'm a lot taller than most people, so it just makes sense for it to be higher up, but I just think it looks killer. Plus, once I put better wheels and bigger tires on this thing, it's gonna look so good. And I cannot wait to drive this because I've been driving this truck around for a year and the suspension has been really sketchy, and now everything is redone. I had a few issues with some parts that I ordered from Rock Auto, and I had to send some blower control arms back. The ones I got actually had some issues with the bores on the ball joints, so I had some beefier ball joints that I was unable to use because I needed to get the truck done so I could drive it again. So unfortunately, I'll probably just end up getting some factory lower control arms from the Junkyard, redoing them, pressing in the new ball joints, and then once I get to a spot where I can have this down for a little bit, once the other Magnum's done, I will be able to actually replace the lower control arms, and then I'll have to get another alignment. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out, but everything looks really good. And I know a lot of people give rough country a really hard time about their lift kits, and I'm not exactly sure why, because I have one on the Jeep and the quality's great, and the quality on this one was also awesome as well. Everything bolted up really nicely. I didn't have any holdups or anything that didn't work, and everything is really well thought out in their kits, and I'm really excited to use their stuff and actually be able to work with them. And I can't wait to get this thing aligned and actually be able to drive it, because it's going to be a night and day difference from what I was driving before, because all the ball joints were just destroyed and it was very, very sketchy driving it. It just kind of wandered. So I can't wait to actually get this thing aligned, be able to drive it. But I'm going to end the video here. If you like these videos, make sure to click the subscribe button, throw a thumbs up, throw a comment below, share this video with your friend. And as always, see you guys next time.